The Logitech MX Master 3 for Mac has to be one of my absolute favourite accessories that you can get for a MacBook or even for the iPad. I've had an absolute blast using this little mouse, and in this review I'm hopefully going to be able to give you a couple of reasons why I love it so much and a couple of things that I actually do dislike about it. So let's get on with the review. So after using the Apple Magic Mouse 2 for a little while, I wanted to cut off my hand and throw it and the Magic Mouse into the fire, never to be used again. It looks fantastic, it has some gestures on there, but it is so small and cramped that it just became really uncomfortable to use. Tried a few different mice in the meantime just to see what I could find that would work really well with MacBook and also for my iPad, and then I finally found this, the Logitech MX Master 3 for Mac, and recently it's been on a sale on Amazon and it retailed for £60 when I got it. It normally goes for about $99.99 and they do one for Windows as well, so it's always worthwhile looking out to see which one of those you can get at a deal. Now, let's start off with the things that I like. So in terms of feature set, it's a really nice ergonomic mouse. It fits a human hand. You've got this kind of bit here for the thumb. It just grips nicely, and even with relatively large hands, this fits very, very nicely. All of the buttons are really easy to use. You don't have the gestures like you do on the Magic Mouse, but you have plenty of buttons on here. So on top, obviously, you have your scroll wheel, but on the side, you also have another scroll wheel, which will allow you to scrub through things like your timeline if you're doing video editing and stuff like that. And that additional functionality is what sold me on this mouse. You also have other buttons on there as well. So you have this sort of central button here that you can press, and on the side, you've got your two additional buttons which you can map in different places on macOS. So for example, if I want to get an oversight of everything that's open on my MacBook, I can literally click in the middle button there and that will show it. And then I've got my back and forward buttons as well, which is really, really handy. So feature set wise, it's fantastic. It also plays so incredibly nice with multiple devices. So on the bottom here, you have your 1, 2, and 3 options. So all you need to do is you click that and it'll switch across to my iPad. If I click it again, it switches across to my MacBook. And if I want to throw in a third device, I can click it again and switch across to a third device. So being able to switch on the fly to those different devices is, it's so handy. If I've got my iPad and I'm watching some video and I've got my MacBook and it's up on my monitor, I can literally just quickly switch over to my iPad and change what I'm doing or get some notes or something like that. Big win for this device. And the final thing as well is the fact that you've got this USB Type-C here. So it's got USB-C to USB-C for charging. And I've got to say the battery life on this is fantastic. I've been using it now for about a month and I haven't had to charge it. I use it every single day. So in terms of that, if you're taking it on the go, it's a big win. Now what's it actually like to use? It's got all those cool features that I really like. And I've got to say, I am really impressed with this. Like I said, battery life is fantastic, performance is really good, and flexibility of moving it between multiple devices is really good as well. It's got this really interesting thing. So when you spin your mouse, it kind of like has this almost like infinite scroll, and then it'll just kind of like lock in place. And you can feel it sometimes, like when you're moving it around and you're doing stuff, like it'll start off with this slow scroll and then you flick it and it'll do this big long scroll. And it's all to do, I think it's called like mag lock or something like that. So it's got these magnets in there and they kind of lock it into place. It does sometimes become a little bit frustrating. So sometimes you'll move the mouse and the mouse wheel will slightly move and then you feel it lock and you can feel whatever's happening in the mouse. It's not a deal breaker at all, but it can be a little bit distracting at times. It's also not quite as precise as I'd like it, so something like the Magic Trackpad or even the Magic Mouse as well, when you're scrolling, it's a really nice smooth experience. And it's not quite as smooth using this scroll wheel, but it's still a really decent experience, just not as nice as the Apple offerings. Other things that I really like about it is it literally just turns on when you start using it. So I have this next to my MacBook, and then when I go to use it, it pretty much kicks in. There is a little bit of a delay, so it's about a 2-second delay before it starts moving the cursor around on my screen. But once it's paired up and it does that, it's pretty much seamless. When I'm moving it around on the screen, the cursor, there is a slight bit of lag, but again, it's nothing that's really massive, and unless you are looking for it, you won't see it. So overall, it's a really good, solid mouse and very nice to use. It feels fantastic, it's very comfortable to use, and I've used it for hours and hours on end, and I haven't had any hand cramp issues or anything like that. So compared to something like the Magic Mouse 2, this is an absolute winner. Now there are a few things that I dislike about the device, and the first one is that even though I do actually really like this kind of ergonomic design and everything, it is a little bit big, which kind of seems crazy since I was complaining about the Magic Mouse being too small, but it is, it's a big kind of chunky thing. So if portability is something that you're after, I know it's not going to add a massive amount, but throwing in a bag and stuff like that, it is going to take up more space than something like a Magic Mouse, or even something like my other Logitech Master I've got. When I've gone back to using a gaming mouse, for example, and it has a slightly lower profile, it just feels so much more comfortable and easier to reach everything than something like this. But I've got to say, I do like the design of it, and it's not a deal breaker. The other thing that I dislike about it, and it's kind of one of the things that I actually like about it as well, is this sort of like rubberized grip that goes all around it. It's very comfortable to use and it makes it very nice and grippy, but it also means it picks up all kinds of manner of dust and particles and everything else. Now luckily my office isn't too dusty, so it's not that much of an issue, but again, if this is going to be something that you sling into a bag and you take with you on the go, then it's probably going to get filthy relatively quickly. Thankfully it's black, so it shouldn't show up too much of the grime, but it is already starting to pick up and show signs of wear and tear. So again, something to bear in mind. If you are using this on the go, it is a bit more bulky than other offerings, and it's probably going to get messier than some of the offerings out there as well. That was really hard to say, other offerings. But all in all, the question is this mouse worthwhile picking up? And I would say if you are a user that switches between multiple different devices and you're looking for something that is really comfortable, can switch between things like your iPad, your Mac, also your Windows PC, then this is an absolute killer mouse. At full price, it is a little bit expensive. So for that £100 or $100, yeah, it is a harder asking price, but it is such a nice mouse. To be honest, I would be willing to pay that after using it for a month. And I have seen these go into Amazon sales pretty frequently as well. If the Windows one's not in there, then the Mac one is. So if you are looking for a mouse like this, it might be worthwhile just hanging fire, see what goes into any of the Prime Day sales or the Black Friday sales or just general deals that these seem to go into. But it is an absolute killer mouse. Had such a blast using it. Compared to any other mouse that I've used for productivity, it is incredibly useful, very comfortable to use, and it just offers so much of the functionality I would normally get from like my Magic Trackpad, but in this, being able to scroll through my timeline and stuff like that with the side scroll, map all these different keys to what I need it to. Yeah, I'm a very, very big fan of this. So if you are an Apple user, certainly worthwhile checking out. So I hope that video has helped you, and if it has, hit that like and subscribe button and come along for some more content in the future. If you've got any questions about this, throw them down in the comments below. And if you already have one of these, let us know your thoughts on it. If you don't and you're using a different type of mouse, let us know what mouse you're using, why you're using it, and what sort of functionality it offers for you. In the meantime, stay safe and we'll see you soon. Bye.